Scottish historian Tom Carlyle states, "The history of the world is but the biography of great people, because gifted leaders shape the world." Makes sense. There's some amazing figures in our history. Think about Mount Rushmore for the US culture. Yet, this historian, his thinking led many to believe that leaders are born and not made. People looked at his study and believed that you can't be made to lead and influence the world because you either got it or you don't, which would mean that Jesus wasted his time, because Jesus reached the lost to be developed and grow into spiritual leaders for his cause. And Jesus believed every one of his followers would not only live a life of meaning and purpose, but would help others find meaning and purpose in relationship to him. And this is why Jesus told his disciples, even before their first step with him, "Come follow me, I'll make you fishers of men and women." Because the moment they trusted in Jesus, they started their leadership development process to become a disciple maker, which means they were developed to influence others to consider and follow Jesus. That's what a disciple maker does. You just want others to know Jesus and to follow him, which is functionally what a leader does, which is why I think evangelism and disciple making can feel like a lot. And I understand, because as an introvert, I don't necessarily want to talk to strangers. And I appreciate what Erica was sharing yesterday and how the Lord's been on this journey with her. So this is a journey. This isn't just going to happen overnight. Jesus walked with his disciples. It took time. And so if you're sitting here feeling like, oh man, disciple making, leadership, I don't know, hang with me. Because as it relates to us, we're committed to fulfill the mission of Jesus by empowering every follower to grow into someone who can make a disciple who makes disciples. And for the Christian movement to continue as Jesus called us to do, we all have a part in helping others to consider and follow Jesus, which may be an informal leadership role, like just starting a conversation with someone. It could be on Sunday that you initiate to introduce yourself to someone, or you're at the grocery store and you want to connect with someone just to hear about their day, to share about your faith. And it could also be formal leadership roles, like what now we have church leadership with me, Sam, and Carl. We have group leaders with Raymond and Faye, Edwin and Sol, Sadie, all of us together, and Annabelle. But wherever you're at in leading others to consider and follow Jesus, just remember, the beginning point isn't you. It's not me. It's actually not with us. Each of us starts with Jesus, who called us to deny ourselves, pick up our cross, and follow him. So as we're talking about this, if you have questions, we're going to help each other talk through them, but they're really to be answered by Jesus. So look to him, follow his lead as he makes us into a leader for his cause, or a disciple who makes a disciple. So for today, this morning, I want to look at spiritual leadership and how that relates to discipleship. So just hang with me. This will make sense as we work through this together. But spiritual leadership is two things. It's initiative and influence. It's initiative and influence. This means what a leader does, they take a first step, regardless of others, to get in front of people, and then he or she guides them by their direct or indirect influence. You know who I think about a lot when I think about this? I think of parents. So think about that. When we talk about starting a family, no one's ever like, "Ooh, I don't know." Like we just want to jump in. I mean, maybe you feel that. I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, I had moments like that too. Like we're driving home and there's Eloise, newborn in the back. Like, how did this happen? I'm not going to answer that question. We're on a, we're going, oh man, this is great. Get back. Uh, but man, I just got blushed. So, but I think about, I think about parenting and how there's a leadership quality to it because you're influencing your kids, you're taking the first step. And I think as a family, some of us might just be a bigger brother to someone else or a bigger sister that's been a little bit further down the road that can help. And maybe there's someone that that's not yet been born again. And so then that gives you the opportunity to be even like a spiritual parent to them. So think of it in family language, because sometimes we have this idea of what a leader is. I know I've felt that, like I have to be this like charismatic speaker, and it's just not how God wired me. And I'm grateful that the way that Jesus leads us is from where we are and who we are. And so it could be formal parenting role, teacher role. It could also be, this is interesting, you can become a leader just by being a hardworking student. You can be a leader by being a hardworking employee. And so leadership is actually expressed in formal positions, but also can be informally in people who model a life to cause others to follow them by sacrificing their life like Jesus in service to others. And so Christians have influence by nature of our commitment to love others like Jesus. Because we love others like Jesus, people are going to be drawn to us because they're drawn to Jesus, which is why influential Christian leaders are servant leaders. Matthew 20 says, this is Jesus, whoever would be great among you must be first your servant. Do you know that there's a lot of books on leadership that espouse these principles that aren't necessarily ministry? Because there's truth in this. Influential Christian leaders are servant leaders who do not need a compelling vision necessarily or a persuasive person, but who lead from the humble character of Jesus, who modeled how we sacrifice not only for a cause, but for the people we are leading. I love this missionary. He says, to be sure, there's a kind of leadership that can rouse people to action for a short time. But enduring leadership invariably will be built upon a confidence that those whom you call leader would sacrifice themselves not only for the cause they share with you, but even for you yourself. That's leadership. That's Jesus. So Christian leaders take initiative and influence their people by living a life worth following, by a genuine care for their needs, a care for them as a person made in the image of God, and by believing that God will transform them to fulfill God's purpose for them as we are with them. We all want to become like Jesus in his life and mission. We're here just to help others do that. Now, you might ask yourself, when am I ready? You look at page 72. This gets into this. Our readiness is found in our capacity for compassion. Same missionary said, you can only exercise and sustain personal leadership only to the extent of your capacity to bear pain. Remember, compassion means to suffer with. If you can bear only your own pain, then you cannot really lead. You're just in a place. Which I have to say, when Lagai was at the hardest place with her cancer recovery, man, that's all she could do. And so that makes sense. You might be in a place where it's just so hard, and that's okay. But just to understand that to lead others is to share in their life, which includes their pain. So if you can only bear your own pain, it might be difficult to lead. If you can respond to and bear only the pain of your family, then your family represents the full scope of your leadership potential. If, however, by God's grace, you can recognize and bear the pain of those around you, then the breadth of your leadership potential is limited by the scope of your burden and capacity for pain. What a exciting way to think of leadership. But think of Jesus inviting us to what? Pick up our cross and follow him. It's really just saying our readiness is to the degree that we are ready to follow Jesus. To carry the pain of those. Compassion means to suffer with, to share in life with those that are hurting, and to help them. And so those who have capacity to carry the pain of those who they care for at home, at work, at church, you're ready. You're ready for spiritual leadership. And I think many of us resist this idea to lead because of stories of failure, inadequacy, lack of opportunity. You know, I was actually going to school to be a CPA. I was a few credits short of, I was actually going to sign up to take the exam and finish it. And just something just was holding me back. And I was being coached by someone that was helping me kind of move forward. And I was new to the area, just married, lost my job. And she asked me, like, when did you feel like you fired on all pistons? And I was like, oh, that's easy. The Bible school. Loved it. People were so encouraged by me and Zane working together. We were a great team, Lagaya. We loved it. And then she's like, well, have you ever thought of applying for ministry? I was like, well, you just volunteer. Like, that's what my dad did. You just volunteer. Who gets paid? Like, how do you even like apply for that? And she's like, you should really think about being in ministry. Now, for me, I'd never thought of it. And I had some things I was working through. But I was like, okay, I'll pray. 2 weeks later, no joke, without even knowing, my pastor, Richard Dahlstrom, called, said, hey, would you ever consider working for a church? I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, who are you talking to? And he needed a bookkeeper and someone to help with their project. So it was a great step for me, but I never thought I could be in a church. God believed in me. God believes in you. Do you believe in Jesus and how he sees you? God created us as his masterpiece. It says we are God's masterpiece to do his good work, which he prepared in advance for you to do with intention and care. So God prepared you for this moment, and he will be faithful to complete the work he is accomplishing in and through us. The only reason I'm here today is by God's grace. And so don't look at someone and believe, oh, I can't ever be like them. We're all different. It's not about me. It's not even about you. What's Jesus leading you to do? Pray about it. Because this is so helpful. In Jesus, we are a new creation. We're created in him. He does the work. And he prepared us for this moment. But we need faith, and we need the help of a faith family, which is why I'd like you all just to take a few minutes to reflect on the questions on page 73.